Radical. All right, let's do some comment preservation. And this one is Anthony Maddaford. Sometimes it's on, YouTube channels. Sometimes it's on Twitter, you know. I don't have a Twitter, so I guess it's the same deal where you can actually block people on Twitter. Remove their comments. Remove their comments if you want to. And I have not seen the full thread, but I'm going to share this right here. I saw a little bit of the response that Lady Decade had for you, Anthony Maddaford. So let's do like a little bit of a deep dive into your comments here. Anthony Maddaford said someone else asked her how donating to her Patreon was supporting her channel. She replied to them about investment in production stuff and an editor, who I presume is Top Hat, and now it's my turn for a pylon. I'm not on Twitter, so it'll be a circle jerk. I didn't insult her. I wasn't rude. I ask what I feel are pertinent questions, and there she goes again. Says a lot about the measure of the individual when that's the go-to response. I can even respond in turn to the Twitter thread. Absolute Snakes, Tip Hat chipped in too, of course. And of course now I'm shadow banned. My reply is that they don't want anyone to see. This is the reply they don't want anyone to see. That's why I would like to share this, and then we'll discuss. Let's see here. At Lady Decade, thank you for the reply. I appreciate it. It seems to me that I've struck a nerve, however. I wasn't insulting or abusive to you in any way. I don't like you or your husband's business model, and I've made that clear to him in the past too. I'm not hiding behind a fake name or trolling you. I stand by my post. It was fair and reason, and whilst invasive, if you are asking strangers on the internet to support your channel and then saying that that money is supporting the channel, it's only fair some strangers on the internet might have some questions about how their donations support the channel exactly. That's transparency in my book. You aren't at liberty to answer my question, of course. I understand that. But the point remains that my questions were genuine. Why should I or anyone else butt out? I'm not asking anyone for money. You are. Thanks for running to Twitter to encourage a pylon, by the way. I'm not on Twitter, so sadly I can't respond there. Seems you and Top Hat use as a tactic, which, to be honest, I feel is very low. Pair of pricks. They cannot will or will not deal with anyone bordering on sensible and reason debate. I'm shocked. My apologies. I'm getting my words together here. I just ate something and I was having some issues there. Again, my apologies, It's below my level of excellence here to flub my words a bit. So you left your comments on, I guess, the channel, and then she went to Twitter to kind of, post that to kind of like, put you on blast. Well, I personally have no problem with that because, that's her right to do that. I don't have any problem with her, putting me on blast or anyone else on blast or, posting whatever she wants to on Twitter. Like, when I say I don't have a problem with it, of course, I can disagree with things like being called a lunatic or a, what was the word? Extremist, something like that. I can disagree with it, and I don't have Twitter, but, I can upload something to YouTube talking about it, We can have these discussions, we can have these conversations. And one topic that comes up is, Patreon a lot on my channel. And a lot of people have different feelings on Patreon. I know right now everyone's not going to have the same feelings on Patreon, and they're not going to agree with you or Lady Decade or Top Hat or whatnot, and we can have these disagreements, right? I've always said, if you can, try to be respectful. If you can, try to be respectful and professional in your criticism or your questions. I'm just seeing here, she had a reply to you saying that she was horrified about people asking about her personal finances. Like, is it really? Like, horrified? It's kind of odd, like, horrified. I think that's different if someone's asking about your personal finances if you don't have a business model, right? Like, there's a business model in place there. There's a Patreon. And, there's people that were hired, I guess. I don't know if there's an actual editor or if it's Top Hat. I'm not sure. I can't verify one way or the other, but the thing is, people should have the freedom to discuss the finances of a YouTube channel if that person is an open business. Just like people discuss, like, I don't know, Nintendo or Sega that sell products. I don't think it's a product per se, but they view their uploads, their videos as products. as products for their audience. And they're trying to sell themselves to their audience. Okay, so let's see this comment that she posted on her Twitter, where she posted it and banned him, right? Let's see what was so shocking about this comment he left. The ad revenue boost you mentioned should increase too if your output increases and the views follow. Why do you need a monthly safety net? Your investment in production equipment is a one-off business cost, not an ongoing liability. If you want to request that people support your channel financially, then I think it's fair that some people will have concerns about where their donations go if it is to support the channel. If you say something like, it allows me to draw a salary so I can concentrate on producing content, that I could believe, but you don't mention that. That's a good point there. Now, I've never been to the Patreon there, so I don't know if it's a transparent Patreon, meaning if she lists actually the dollar amount that's going to the channel. I'm all about transparency. Sure, I don't like Patreon. I don't like things like e-begging, asking for money for, your YouTube hobby uploads, specifically on the gaming channels. You know how I feel about that. But it matters if you are transparent or not. So if she, number one, lists how much money she's getting on the Patreon, because it is a business. Patreon's connected to her YouTube channel, which is a business, right? Then that's something good. And if if there's an effort to be transparent, then that's a good thing. Yeah. But I don't think that's a shocking comment. I don't think this guy really deserved to be banned off the channel. And that's troubling to me. That's troubling to me. Because if people come to my channel and they leave legitimate criticism, or they ask me, hey, what's your deal with Patreon? Please explain to me how you feel about Patreon. I'm under no obligation to answer their questions. There was a great comment that this one woman left on one of my Lady Decade uploads. I'm guessing a fan of Lady Decade. It was a great comment, right? And that person, I didn't fully agree with them. I think I responded to them. I wasn't just going to shadow ban that person because they're asking questions that are against my personal mindset. But, before I get on the soapbox, let's go to her response. Hey, look, I appreciate you're not being combative in your comment, but it's extremely evasive and I'm under no obligation to answer it. Okay, let's start out really good there, because she appreciates he's not being combative. Shadow banned him though, but appreciates he's not being combative. And she's under no obligation to answer it. Exactly. 100%. Lady Decade, Top Hat Gaming Man, they're under no obligation whatsoever to answer these comments. They don't have to. But shadow banning and taking these comments away is a different beast entirely, right? It shows something is up if they're just shadow banning people that have these honest, legitimate, fair questions. Even though, let's say some people might say that that's a bit invasive, I would counter with, if it's about the business of their YouTube channel and it's an open business where they're asking people for donations, I think it's mostly fair. It's mostly fair. It's not like this person was going to their channel leaving like trollish spam comments or anything like that. Those are pretty good comments. Let's see here. She then says, I've seen you in my husband's comment section before, and I have also noticed you on other channels too with similar questions about Patreon. No one who has Patreon needs to justify it except to those who choose to come on board. I don't need veiled advice to try to shame me from having a Patreon, because there is nothing shameful about it. I am horrified to be asked such personal questions about my finances and how I go about paying for anything by a complete stranger on the internet. That is so incredibly rude. It leads me to question why you yourself would, and then it's cut right there. Okay, so she's horrified. Horrified. Not horrified at all the donations, though. Not horrified at that. Like, here's the thing. Like me, I'm not horrified, but I'm personally troubled that there are people on my channel right now that if I opened a Patreon, they would actually donate real currency, like real money, to me for just uploading hobby videos to YouTube. That's insane. That's insanity, right? I'm not making movies on here. I don't have these grand productions. And you know what? Neither does Lady Decade and Top Hat Gaming Man. There's, there's not any movies on their channel. There's nothing actually worthy of sending money to. Now you might say, it's a free market. It's a free market, Rick. There's people that see their content and they say, I want to donate some money to it. Well, what they do with their money, I mean, I can criticize it, but what they do with their money, okay, right? I can think it's stupid, and I can be a voice on YouTube of, I think, reason saying that it's stupid to send your money to these type of YouTubers. I can say that, and people can counter that. That's part of the conversation. But to make like you're horrified, I just don't believe that. I don't think she's horrified by that. I think she is actually horrified that it is a question. She's horrified, along with Top Hat, to actually have to answer these type of questions. They're horrified at the idea that when people actually look into it and question it, they would come to a similar conclusion of like, well, you know what? This is just kind of silly. Like, why? Like, why? This is interesting. And this is why, I kind of I like engaging in these conversations. I like sharing my thoughts. What I don't like, though, is when people shadow ban people leaving, I think, fair comments on their channels. I think this was a misstep by Lady Decade to straight up ban this person. I think it was. I think it was wrong. I think you should consider unbanning this person. As long as you're keeping it respectful, as long as you're, just fair when you go to these channels and you're not, trolling them, not spamming them with hateful comments and everything like that. I think there's no reason that these people should be banned on these channels. And again, that doesn't mean that they have to have their questions answered. Top Hat and Lady Decade are under no obligation to answer the comments on their channel. No one is. But I believe that comments like this should be preserved. And that's why we call this comment preservation for Anthony Maddaford.